Chakadamia, Chamber of Time. Now this story revolves around a character called Atsuko Kagari, a young budding wizard fueled by her passion for magic and her desire to meet her childhood hero, Shiny Chariot. She attends Luna Nova, a magic school and setting for this game. While not the most admirable character, she does do her best in most situations, even if it does get her into a lot of trouble. She and her friends Susie and Lotte often end up in a series of misfortunes, adventures, and mayhem as they attempt to find Chariot, who has disappeared, and return to her the rod of her namesake, the Shiny Rod. This game takes place during her summer vacation where, due to her mischief and misfortunes, Atsuko, or Akko, as she is referred to by the game, is forced to clean the library by summer's end. Of course, this being a magical school, the library is no ordinary one, as she soon finds a concealed door once a mysterious book is placed on a shelf. The way ends up leading to a room, in which lies a door and a seemingly broken clock. After accidentally touching the clock and breaking a magic seal, Akko is fated to be stuck in a loop, repeating the first day of summer over and over, until she and her friends can find a way to break the cycle. Now, the game is mostly situated in this Groundhog-like style of gameplay, where you learn new information and help others by exploring and using your time wisely every single day to study schedules and to help people in their predicaments based on accumulated knowledge. While the deeds may reset at the end of the day, the knowledge regarding those deeds does not, hence allowing you to complete some quests you may not have been able to in a single day or without prior knowledge. Now, I have a little bit of a debate on the style of the game. While it does use this Groundhog Day or Majora's Mask mechanic, whatever you want to call it, the game is not like many of the other games in that genre. Moreover, I'd consider it sort of the game's subgenre. At heart, this game is a visual novel for the fans of Little Witch Academia. It's even written by the same studio. Now, there is combat, but it's not really that great. At least what I've played isn't that great. You can still enjoy the game for what it is without even seeing the show, however, which is good, as the game gives you a decent context for the characters and its world. And if you're worried you haven't seen all the series so far, fear not, as the game consists within about the first season or arc, at least as defined by Netflix's seasons. So if you're about 10 episodes in, you're going to get pretty much every little character or reference the game throws at you, but there's nothing really that contains any spoilers. So if you're also on a point where you're like, oh, I don't want to have anything spoiled for me in the future, the game doesn't really do that for you either. It's more or less just sort of little Easter eggs and stuff for people who have seen future episodes, but they're sort of things that are so subtle that you wouldn't really, feel like it's interfering with your overall experience of the show. While there is a lot of good things in this game, I want to kind of get the complaints out first, so that way we can kind of end on a more positive note. For full transparency, I haven't beaten the game as of yet, but I have logged at least 10 hours now at this point into the game, and I think my first complaint is the combat. The combat's very clunky, very poor. It doesn't really work well at points due to the three-dimensional sort of 2.5D walking that's supposed to be available to you in this 2D fighting style, causing issues with hitting enemies and hitbox detection at times based on the Z-axis, I suppose. If it were just a straight 2D fighting game where I was on a same level platform at all times, where I was always hitting the enemies regardless of my position, or maybe if I could, have my character angled in a way that they could hit somebody who's not on the same axis as me, that would be fixed, but the reality is that that's not the case. Also, the mapping on the keyboard and controller isn't exactly fantastic. I feel like the controller is much superior to the keyboard, but the thing is, during combat at times the controller has certain mappings where like dodge is actually connected to an ability where you can cast spells, so sometimes you'll want to cast a spell but you end up dodging and it's kind of annoying. But I feel like this was definitely designed for a console and was sort of ported over to the PC, which is why I use my PS4 controller to play it on my PC now, as it supports PS4 controller functionality as well. And it was clearly designed for that, so I'm trying to play it in the best way possible. Another thing is the lack of fast travel. There is fast travel in the game, however it takes about an hour and a half to unlock after everything is all said and done. And if you're not like a speedrunner or you know where to look or whatever, you're not gonna really find it until about that time. Like I'm sure if you were a speedrunner or something, you could probably find it a lot faster or whatever. But like the other problem I have with it is that it consumes a hard to get item. At least early game hard to get. Later on, it becomes kind of more abundant, the material you need to get the thing to fast travel. This might, this might seem like just a minor thing, and I suppose it is, but, like, the game is kind of big. It's a complete and to scale recreation of the entire campus at Luna Nova, and the map can sometimes be hard to navigate, but it becomes easier over time. But the scale of it is pretty impressive. I know I'm kind of putting a compliment in with the insult, but you know, the scale is so grand that I feel like the fast travel system needed to be more streamlined. In fact, so did the combat. There's also an online, which I found in Luna Nova Tower, but the sad thing is nobody's really playing the game, so it's not really possible to play the multiplayer, even though it's fully available and supported, which kind of makes me a bit sad. Pacing is also a bit of an issue at the start of the game, as the tutorial's about an hour long. Due to long sessions of dialogue and, you know, bits and bobs. But this can, while not really interfering in your first playthrough, can make replayability an issue. Even when skipping all of the dialogue, it still takes a long ass time between loading screens and just little animations and stuff like that. But aside from that, really, I don't have any other negatives. This game did really well. Okay, moving on to the positives of this game, while it does have its negatives, it has a lot going for it. Boasting fantastic, vibrant characters with a rich story. You know, this game was created by, in a sense, the writers of the show, or at least the overall meat of this game was created by the writers of the show, the story. The original animations are even included from the show's Studio Trigger, ones that are completely unique to this game, and are not shown in the anime at all. And this game is beautifully landscaped, with vastly detailed and littered with characters who roam hourly, making this world feel alive. It's got schedules, it's got things, it's got... like, it's really pretty, I mean, at times, but, like, the character models with unique animations give the character an unnecessary but appreciated extra touch of life and individuality. Like, you sometimes see these characters, like, swinging from side to side, or they're kind of just doing their little thing. Each character has, like, this sort of demeanor about them that, without even knowing who the character is, you know what that character's all about, you know? And that's something I really appreciate in video games like this. So many modern video games forget that attention because, you know, they feel like the character has to be silent protagonist, you know, it has to be impressionable, you have to have, like, you know, a connection, the character and player have to be as one and be immersed and all that. When you can just, like, you know, if you break it down, this is a story, and it doesn't have to be from the player's perspective to be a good game. And there are so many references, like, to the show, from the main to side characters. You got people like, you know, witch teacher number 1. We got blue-haired girl, who I know a spoiler about. You got Chum-Li. You got, Fluttershy. There are a lot of fleshed out and vibrant subquests in this game, of which some, I can argue, get repetitive. But, you know, in a game about repetition of the same day, I feel like it's a little more justified, you know, it's not all just fetch quests and meet me here at this time, or kill this boss and get an item. You know, it's something, sometimes you have to actually fail and learn, and you know, you have to learn from that experience of failing, and so you know what to do the next time around. Or sometimes you have to, like, go around eavesdropping and sort of listening in on conversations that might not seem important at the time, but actually give you crucial and vital tips to maybe completing a quest you really were struggling on. You know, and speaking of that, there's, like, a load of characters to talk to in this game, and I'm talking about easily hundreds, between, like, the eavesdropping and just side characters that these guys have made up. Like, and they all have really interesting things to say. Like, I don't know how to describe it better than just the world really feels alive. You know, like, I could go on about this game for days. It is a good game, and I do really feel like, you know, in a lot of ways I'm kind of underselling a lot of the things. As I said, the character models sometimes are really, really nice and look really accurate compared to at least the anime, which is something, like, you know, I'm becoming more and more accustomed to as animation and computer technology, at least cell animation particularly gets better, it's nicer to see sort of games that are more reflective of the style of the actual anime, and not just like, you know, really blocky messes that used to kind of come around. I'm kind of thinking of old Naruto games and old Dragon Ball games and shit, where compared to like things like, I just reviewed Dragon Ball FighterZ last time, that was like a good while ago, but you know, that was a fantastically looking game too. But even in terms of like comparing it to that game, they use a very similar animation style, but I feel like this one uses a little bit extra just to make those characters feel more alive. They feel a little bit stiff at times in Dragon Ball FighterZ, and they do here too. I mean, sometimes their walking animations doesn't reflect the speed at which they are walking and stuff, but you know, it's stuff you kind of have to overlook when you're looking at these sort of artistic masterpieces, what I'd actually call them, because these sort of games focus on the art side of gameplay and not just, you know, guns, magic, and flesh and all that. While it's all there, like, I would compare this game to maybe something like Harry Potter. Like, the old Harry Potter games for, like, the PS1 were fantastic. Like, those games were really fun as a little kid. You get to explore the world of Hogwarts. It's all about the it's all about the sort of comparison and making this product seem like it's representative, but also faithful to the original source material. And I feel like this game is 100% faithful. It uses all the same voice actors, although if you did watch the English dub, it uses the Japanese voice dub only, which I know a lot of people are happy about. But you have to remember, ages ago, I remember this growing up, a lot of people used to complain about the games lacking like Japanese dubs at the time, and gave out about there being, like, you know, an only English dub. But now it's kind of funny how it's come around full circle and people are complaining that there's no English dub and that there's only a Japanese dub. It's kind of funny, but I would have appreciated an English dub for this game, because personally I did watch the English dub. It's actually a fantastic English dub. How many times can I say dub in a sentence, am I right? I digress. I'm going on too much. Overall, let's just cut to the synopsis of this game. It's a fantastic game with a few things holding it back. However, its story is what really shines, and that's its blessing and its curse, you know? Fans will get far more enjoyment out of this than the average gamer, and as the overall gameplay isn't exactly up to commercial standards. However, this game is, take note of this, it's published by Bandai Namco, but it's developed by an independent small game company. And for that, I feel like it's genuinely fantastic, you know? If you can stomach some of the poorer sequences in gameplay, I'd love to see this game get a sequel that's a little more fleshed out in terms of combat and gameplay. I would recommend, if you can stomach all the sort of poorer areas of the game, I would recommend buying it, because supporting these games shows Bandai Namco and places like Studio Trigger that there is an audience for these games. Buying this game might mean one day we get like a Kill la Kill game, which would be fucking amazing. Like, Studio Trigger has some of the like most amazing anime IPs that I at least personally I enjoy. Like, these guys are like the masters when it comes to producing classic anime. Like, I'm talking they're up there with Studio Ghibli. If you want to see these guys make more games, this is one of those games you have to kind of support, because they're gonna just sort of scrap the idea of making future games from these series otherwise. And I'm not sponsored by this, but I'll leave a PS4 and Steam link to this game in my description. I maybe recommend waiting until it goes on sale or something to buy it, because it doesn't really have a physical copy, so you have to download it. So I know some people feel like, you know, that devalues the game a little bit, or maybe some people don't enjoy downloading games, and that kind of in a sense hurts the game, since it didn't really get a lot of advertising. But hopefully, if you are a fan of the series, you'll enjoy it as much as I am at the moment. And if you're not, at least think about it this way. You're helping out a worthy developer, and if you have the money to spend on it, go ahead, because it's a fantastic game. You know, there's not much else to say about it. I'm going to rate this game 7 out of 10. I was going to give it a 6, but due to the fact that I am a fan of the anime, I feel like it's a 7 to me. But a sort of maybe a 5 to people who haven't. That, take it as you will. If you're not somebody who's watched the anime, 5. If you're somebody who watched the anime, it's a 7. Okay? That's pretty much it. You know, I was just sort of making this while, you know, I was in the middle of the process of finishing up Bayonetta. You know, I've gotten through most of the story in Bayonetta. I just kind of want to make sure that I didn't miss anything in that, and you know, because that's a viewer requested review, so I want to make sure I put as much time into that as possible, you know. Guys, I am back. I got a new fan for my graphics card, so that means I can, you know, pick up a few PC games and record them now, which is nice for me. That's why I'm recording this game. I literally picked it up about a week ago, but I've just been having fun with it, so I thought I'd, like, you know, show you guys and share it with the world, you know, that this is a game that definitely needs support. So yeah, I'm definitely a firm advocate, I'm not sure if you can tell, of games that are sort of essentially indie games created by fans of a certain series, and this is clearly a fan-made game, you know, with a lot of support from the developers of the series. I like to see good games on franchises, and this is one of those few, you know. It's been a long time since I've seen a good franchise game, other than maybe like some of the Naruto games and Dragon Ball games that I've played. So yeah, guys, that about wraps it up. Stay cool, stay awesome, stay fresh, and bye-bye.